John Razimus here. In this episode, I'm going to be doing a review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. It's already been done many times, but mine is going to be from a unique perspective. I am a Star Wars fan. As you can see, I'm wearing a Star Wars The Last Jedi t-shirt. I was a little bit stoked about it. I'm wearing a Rebel Alliance Luke Skywalker's jacket of all things. And I'm a huge fan of Luke Skywalker. He's my number one favorite character from the Star Wars universe. Yoda is maybe a close second. I know a lot of people love Han Solo, Boba Fett. I was never fans of Han Solo or Boba Fett. I was always a fan of Luke Skywalker and Yoda. And this video will contain spoilers. So here's a big heads up. If you have not seen The Last Jedi, the new Star Wars, watch it before you watch this review. I will include spoilers. This is the big disclaimer warning. There will be spoilers in this video. But I'm also going to talk about it from an occult perspective. I am an occult researcher. Have been for, a good 5 years, I would say. Maybe 4 years. Not too long. Long enough to have acquired a pretty good book collection. I was going to do a teaser video or just a preview yesterday, but YouTube wouldn't allow me to upload for some reason on my phone. So I'm doing it on my nice new camera. I bought a drone, not for fun, but for the exclusive reason and exclusive purpose. And you saw me test fly it a little bit, of attaching my GoPro under here and getting a really good helicopter shot, kind of like Stanley Kubrick in the beginning of The Shining. I wanted to get a really good tree line shot. And it's going to snow in a couple days on the tallest mountain in town. I want to get a really nice snow tree line shot for the intro of my new show coming soon, coming 2018, coming this winter. So on to the Star Wars review. Star Wars starts off with Rey handing the lightsaber to Luke. Then a scene we anticipated, what's going to happen? For 2 years, Star Wars fans were like, what's going to happen? Well, the second Luke touches the lightsaber, he has a flashback. And the lightsaber has some type of time travel capabilities. Luke time travels back to a point where he's training Kylo Ren before he turns to the dark side. And there's Luke with his green lightsaber. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to have to kill this Kylo Ren guy. So Luke strikes Kylo Ren down, kills him, and Kylo Ren is dead. This is before Kylo killed Han Solo. So Han Solo is now alive. It's pretty awesome. Han is alive again. First time they introduced time travel in the Star Wars movies. Stuff about the new Darth, what's the Sith guy's name? Whatever the new guy in the golden robe's name is, he gets Darth Mauled. But that didn't happen because Luke Skywalker killed Kylo. But they introduced 2 new Darth characters, 2 new Sith Lords. The most evil Sith Lords you've ever heard of or seen in your life. To be honest, I'm blown away how they were able to make such scary new Darth characters. I thought Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Darth Sidious were bad, but these new Darth people are even worse than the Darth Goldrobe guy, whatever. Extremely frightening. Their names, Darth Rian Johnson and Darth Kathleen Kennedy. That's right. Darth Kathleen Kennedy, Darth Rian Johnson. They're so evil, they want to destroy the whole universe. So they go off on trying to murder Han Solo, trying to kill Luke Skywalker. Who else did they want to kill? Anyone that's amazing and good in the Star Wars universe, they want gone. These people are so evil, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get a time machine to kill Yoda before he was born. These people are pure evil. Whew. Anyway, the new Star Wars movie, it's a horrendous, awful thing to witness if you're a Star Wars fan like me. Even wearing this t-shirt makes me feel sick to my stomach. I don't want to advertise this piece of garbage anymore. Darth Rian Johnson, Darth Kathleen Kennedy, not a fan. Now into the occult aspect of Star Wars. Star Wars is very occult. Jokes aside, Star Wars has a lot of mystical, magical, spiritual aspects to it. George Lucas was inspired by many different religions. He studied different religions to come up with different characters. Like Darth Maul, he had admitted he studied different religions to come up with Darth Maul. And I think the same thing is true for Yoda. The Force is clearly in reference to the spirit of everything in the universe. It's real. It's not a fake concept. So that might be one reason why Disney wants to destroy it. They paid over $4 billion for the Star Wars LucasArts franchise. And they realized, hey, you know what? This is a little bit too spiritual and enlightening. A little bit too good. It's a little bit too good for our evil empire we're building. Let's destroy it. But that aside, the Force, all right? I'm standing in front of a tree where I did witness an invisible entity lower that branch right there. And you can't see it, but I see a stick pointing right to it. This stick was not there last time I was here. It's interesting. But this branch was lowered by an invisible entity. If you check out my invisible entity and the wilderness with John Razimus video, you can see a little bit more on that story. This is a little important. It's kind of an important area for me. I actually witnessed a tree branch go down considerably, like something was sitting on it. Invisible forces do exist. Invisible entities do exist. A lot of the powers in the Star Wars movies can be directly equated to actual mystical abilities and powers. I have seen linkage, like people communicating mentally, telepathically, psychically. I have heard of that and firsthand perhaps experienced it on a minute scale. Nothing comes to mind, but I've definitely heard plenty of stories of people authentically having those type encounters. There's some people that say the Force can be bent for good or evil, but really there's evil forces and there are good forces, and they're constantly fighting against each other. That's the fact of the secret of the universe. Good and evil are constantly fighting. You can't get rid of the other either. You can't annihilate the other side. You can temporarily win, but the gap will be filled with whatever side got temporarily removed. They always come back. Invisible entities are all around us 24/7. They can move objects. I've seen that firsthand. Jokes aside, that actually did happen to me. Off topic for a few seconds. I'm a fan of comedy. I'm a fan of sketch comedy. I'm a fan of all these sketch comedy shows, comedy movies. Rest in peace, Chris Farley. But those jokes and comedy things aside, I actually did witness this tree branch being bent down, but that's a microscopic, nothing tiny thing compared to 2011. I've had a few negative criticisms. If those people met me on the street, I think a truck might be coming. They're doing construction over there, so there's going to be a little bit of loud noises here and there, but if any of you subscribers walked up to me on the street and said, hey, did that demon stuff actually happen? I would 100% verify that it happened, off the top tell you details I never mentioned in any of my videos, and whether I could convince you or not really depends, but I can tell you this. I have a few atheist friends that are freaked the freak out when I tell the stories. It's not a fictional ghost story. The demon stuff actually happened to me and still happens to me residually on a small scale. But back on over to Star Wars. The Star Wars universe, I believe the funniest occult thing I ever heard was from the Montauk Project books. I believe Preston Nichols said that, or maybe it was Peter Moon, said that George Lucas hired witches to cast black magic spells while they were filming in Tatooine, those first scenes. So audience members would be mesmerized and love it a million times more than they normally would because black magic was in it. Now, I think that's hilarious, and I think that's completely false. It's pretty funny, though. It's pretty funny. But as far as actual occult things, they're all over the place. Of course, you could see evidence of inspirations in the Star Wars movies. Levitation, telekinesis, telepathy, psychic abilities. And in this latest movie, The Last Jedi, I would say my number one critique of the latest movie, occult-wise, of all things, would be Luke Skywalker's ability. This is a huge spoiler. Don't continue watching if you haven't seen it. This is a legitimate spoiler from The Last Jedi. Luke Skywalker hands some golden dice on a chain to Princess Leia that supposedly means something to her. As a Star Wars fan, I knew nothing about these golden dice, but I'm not a super ultra Star Wars fan. I forgot Snoke's name. Or Snoke? Yeah, I forgot Snoke's name. So I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I knew nothing about the dice, but apparently J.J. Abrams, when he was reconstructing the Millennium Falcon, he came across the dice and he said, "What's this?" And they told him. He's like, "Yeah, let's add that to the movie." So J.J. kind of added it, but they never really talked about it. So Darth Rian Johnson decided to add it as some super huge plot key item so they can reference it in the Han Solo spin-off movie. It's kind of like a Marvel little Easter egg that they threw in there, but this is not a Marvel movie. But similar to how the Marvel movies do that. These little golden dice. So Luke Skywalker hands Princess Leia the golden dice in The Last Jedi. Huge spoiler, don't continue listening if you haven't seen the movie. And I don't recommend watching the movie twice. Just watch it once and say, I'm going to tweet what I think about this. And this is what I think, not very good. To be honest, the very first review I ever heard of this movie was as I was leaving the theater. I heard some guy yell, who just watched it with me, yell, "Wow, that sucked!" True story. The guy hated it so much, and he's a true Star Wars fan. You know, it really took me 3 days for it to sink in how bad the movie was for me to even tweet about it. For me to even say, you know what? They disrespected every single character in the whole movie, except for Princess Leia. I think they did a pretty good job with Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher, rest in peace. But Luke hands the golden dice to Carrie Fisher. I have no idea what the golden dice means, but he hands a physical object to Carrie Fisher. She's like, okay, you know. And then Luke walks into this new planet called Crate. I only know that through Battlefield 2. He walks onto the Crate Salt Flats, and Kylo comes down with his ship to confront him. And you think it's going to be really cool. Huge spoiler, don't keep watching. You think it's going to be a really cool Jedi duel space battle. Luke Skywalker would kick Kylo's butt. Kylo lightsaber training is pretty much zero as far as I know. I'm sure he watched some surveillance video of Obi-Wan Kenobi kicking Vader's butt before he chose to disappear and go into the Force, but Luke would have kicked Kylo's butt. So Luke's going to confront Kylo, the new version of the AT-AT walkers. It's a new version, which looks like some creature's walking on its hands and feet. It's a new model. Kylo's like, blast him at to heck. They shoot tons of lasers at Luke. He walks through them like a badass. Kind of like the Terminator T-1000 or T-2000 or 3000, whatever. Terminator 2, you know, that T-9000, whatever it's called, walks through the flames. So Luke Skywalker's walking through the flames, and he's like, yeah. Kylo comes down, he's like, I'm going to get you one-on-one. Kylo's like, hey, wait a second. I thought I got you there. And he sticks his saber through Luke, and Luke's like, nice try. And he pulls a Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger holographic trick. But the thing is, he's meditating back on Luke's island, and he left his body. The occult criticism I have for that is you can't out-of-body experience travel across the world and hand someone a physical object. Doesn't work like that. You can't do it. Feel free to try, occult magi masters. You magus masters. All these occult masters like to call themselves the magus. I'm a magus. Yeah, sure you're a magus. Just because you read a book called The Magus, you're automatically a magus. Some people can leave their body. I can't do it. So I've never tried. Then again, I've never tried. I think maybe I've left my body while I sleep or during rare circumstances, but maybe I leave it 1 inch. So I don't know anything of what it's like to actually fly across the world. Supposedly some Buddhist meditation masters can do that, as you can see spoofed in movies like Beverly Hills Ninja starring Chris Farley. You can't hand physical objects. So apparently Leia chucks the dice on the ground and they all run off to safety and they fly away to safety without the evil First Order following them. Kylo realizes he's been tricked. He walks into the where the Rebel Alliance was, and he sees the golden dice. And he has them in his hand, and he's like, okay, this is a clue. Let's get this analyzed, and then it disappears. But I think it disappeared after Luke. Anyway, Luke pulls a Yoda, he pulls an Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he vanishes. He becomes one with the Force. So if I don't see Ghost Luke Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 9, I'm going to be extremely ticked off. But if we don't see Ghost Luke Skywalker, it's going to be because of Darth Rian Johnson and Darth Kathleen Kennedy. These are the two new most evil Sith Lords in the universe, whose goal is Star Wars to be a drama between Kylo and Rey, and just this Kylo-Rey drama. Now, I got a spam email from Hot Topic of all things with a beanie, all right? And the beanie says, I heart the dark side, with a little heart Death Star. How cute is that? That sums up The Last Jedi, because they topsy-turvy twist. Evil becomes good, good becomes evil. That is most definitely an occult thing, for evil to be mistaken for good, good to be mistaken for evil. On top of that, people such as Darth Rian Johnson and Darth Kathleen Kennedy probably don't believe evil exists. When you don't believe evil exists, you're going to have a lot of sympathy and empathy and really love the evil character so much, you're going to make him the good character. You're going to make him the hero. So if I had to make a prediction, Star Wars Episode 9 is going to be called The Dark Side is Good. I don't know what it's going to be called, but I guarantee you they're probably going to have some plot, super thin plot with very little depth, concerning how the dark side is really the good side and the good side is the dark side. Kylo's going to turn Rey bad, and they're going to be two bad people running the galaxy, but they're not going to be evil. You see, they're going to be the First Order with a brighter smile, kind of like Disney, kind of like Darth Rian and Garth Kathleen would have it be. Just as evil as possible, but really not evil, good. Just people mistake us. We're misunderstood. The old sympathy for the devil thing. I could tell you this, from an occult perspective, don't have any sympathy for the devil. Don't have any sympathy for negative entities. Don't have any sympathy for demons. I've heard stories. I can't confirm whether they're true or not, but they seem to ring true enough to be cautious of the scenario of people praying on the devil's behalf or demons' behalf. The devil and demons love that. It's an opportunity for them to show up and screw with your life. They very rarely appear. It's why people don't believe me. It's why people don't believe other people. I did a search on invisible entities, and I found a lady on YouTube saying, you know what, I heard noises in my closet. I heard noises over here. I heard noises in this corner. And people are going to label that lady crazy. I think there's a good chance that lady's telling the truth. These entities love people mistaking the truth for someone who's crazy. I could pass every test and be certified to be a pilot, to be certified to do anything I want. I'm not crazy. I have zero illnesses concerning mental ones. I can assure you that. If you meet me on the street, I'll say, hey, you know what, this happened, here you go. But it freaks people out when I start giving the details. Because when the entities hear the stories of fellow demons, they want to listen in, and it brings a really negative vibe to the area. It's not just a ghost story, scary thing that happens mentally. Physically, I hear creaks, and it can't be proven, but I do have a theory that it could possibly be reproduced in a laboratory. But I don't think there's a single scientist alive that would even allow the test to be conducted in a laboratory. It's such a taboo subject of higher dimensional entities existing, intelligent, independent ones from the human mind. I don't think there's a scientist alive that would allow me to conduct the experiment in their laboratory. But if any scientists do want to take me up on it, I think there's a test I can perhaps reproduce over and over and over. Demons are smart enough to not allow the test to be successful, but there are certain laws in the universe, I believe, that might be reproducible in a lab despite the intelligence of these entities. They do have a repetition, they do have a pattern they repeat over and over. It seems they can almost not follow that pattern. So that is one way I can possibly do a test on these entities. And I think it involves corners of rooms. Demonic entities appear in corners of rooms. Why is it? It's something I witnessed firsthand. With the curtains being pulled down, I had a computer in that corner. Stuff on top of the computer would be knocked off to the point where I moved everything out of that corner and it was a barren corner with nothing in it. Because when objects in your corner of your room get knocked around every night and you're witnessing it and nothing's doing it other than an invisible entity, you tend to move this stuff, and I didn't film it. Might as well tackle this right now. Why did I not film the poltergeist demon that knocked over objects in my room? As I've said many times, it's not a cartoon, it's not a Disney movie. When a demon is in your room and you know it, it knows that you know it. Its number one goal is to scare you, intimidate you, terrorize you. It was successful at keeping me up late at night so I would be groggy and very tired in the morning, to the point where I did go to work 1 hour late. For 2 years straight, I had a perfect attendance record. 2 years straight. But this demon bothered me until 4 a.m. one night, knocking objects over in my room, in the middle of it, jumping on me and choking me, not sleep paralysis. I could sit up, and I was awake during the attack. I could move all parts of my body except for my mouth and my tongue. But I could tell you these stories firsthand if you see me on the street, and I'll confirm they actually happened. I didn't film it because I didn't want to encourage it to continue to harass me. I would think filming it would encourage it. It would be like, oh, I'm a star of a TV show? Sure, I'll knock over tons of stuff. Maybe you would follow me the rest of my life? A million things went through my head. The old mythological things, most definitely. A contract with a demon means you lose your soul. Whether that's true or not, I didn't want to risk it. You know what I'm saying? When there's an actual demon in your room knocking over objects, not fake, but a true story, I didn't want it to ask it to knock over something for me. Oh, can you knock over something for me? Then it becomes a contract. These are things I thought of during the process. So my number one instinct was don't communicate with it. Ignore it. So it got to the point, Roger Morneau made this comment, and it really causes me to believe him. Roger Morneau said, it's amazing what the human mind can adjust to. Things that are impossible become commonplace and normal if they happen enough where you experience it enough. Basically, I got to the point where I'm playing video games and it's knocking over crap. And I think it even enjoyed watching me play video games. It's knocking over stuff to the point where I'm not even paying attention. I'm totally ignoring the thing. I was ignoring it. Sort of like a Buddhist monk would ignore it if it happened to a Buddhist monk. A true Buddhist monk who's in meditation, who experiences something like that, they're going to continue meditating. They're not going to allow it to break their concentration. So it acted like the room was its territory, and perhaps it was. Perhaps that's why it doesn't terrorize me anymore. Perhaps it stayed back there in Santa Maria, California. But it actually happened. It's a true story. I told my roommate of this story. I said, have you experienced any poltergeist activity? He said, no. What are you talking about? I told him the story. I said, have you experienced anything strange, unusual, paranormal? He said, I have strange dreams about angels and demons. And he told me he writes novels. He said he's inspired by Stephen King. He said Stephen King's his idol. He wants to write horror novels. That was his hobby. And I thought maybe the two were related. Maybe him having dreams of angels and demons. That's not normal. I don't have dreams of angels and demons every night. Last night I had a dream about... I got to school late. I'm not even in school, but I got to school late, and Tommy Wiseau was the teacher. And he handed us a packet of homework that was like this thick. And it had like a chain around it. It had like a silver chain around it. And it had like a really elaborate silver paperclip on the top. And he handed everyone this super huge, and it was homework on The Room. I'm going to watch The Room January 10th. Fathom Events, check it out. It's a one-time nationwide only event. 14 and a half years after Tommy created The Room, it's finally in theaters nationwide. So in the dream, we leave the classroom, and Tommy's like, hey, pick a go-kart. Pick a go-kart. And the go-karts I've never seen before. They're pedal go-karts, where you literally have to pedal. And I've never seen them. They're themed, most of them. There's a Back to the Future DeLorean go-kart, which someone else grabs. There's some really cool ones, famous cars, different movies and stuff. And there's a futuristic pink one that I have to fight someone to get. And I'm pedaling it, and it's fun. And that's pretty much the end of the dream. That's not a normal dream for me. That's just a random dream. But I definitely do not have dreams about angels and demons. You know, I have had a few rare dreams of demons here and there. I could tell you the last dream I had about a demon. I was at a party. A lot of people in this house. It was kind of a run-down house. It looked kind of abandoned, but people were in it for the party reasons. Someone throws a cigarette butt on the ground. I didn't want it to catch the carpet on fire. So I grab a cup and I push it into the kitchen and I put the cup over the cigarette butt in the kitchen. And this is a dream. And a little demon appears in the smoke and it kind of dances. And it might have even been playing a flute, kind of like a satyr, half goat, half man type thing. So that was kind of demon related. I thought that was interesting. That was weird. But Star Wars: The Last Jedi is pretty horrible. The training between Rey and Luke Skywalker was horrible. All Darth Rian Johnson had to do was extend the training sequence. So Luke's like, I don't want to train you. Rey, being the relentless, perfect student, she wants to train and know everything about it. And Luke finally gives in and says, okay, lesson number 1. Psh! And he like whips her hand with like a leaf. All I can tell you is there's an extended scene they cut out of the movie, an extended emotional. He said he's going to teach her 3 things. And he only gave her 2 lessons, and they cut out the 3rd lesson out of the movie. They cut it out because that's what Darth Rian Johnson likes to do, destroy Star Wars. Even destroy perhaps the best scene he ever filmed of Luke actually training Rey. But Rey doesn't need any training. She can do it all by herself. You know, that's just disrespectful to the Luke Skywalker character. Luke Skywalker couldn't do it all by himself. He needed Yoda to train him. And the cave definitely trained him as well. And they repeated that. Rey has her own cave. And she really wants to know who her parents are. And that's a huge disappointment for Star Wars fans. I really don't care. Because I'm not super huge Star Wars. I don't collect action figures, all right? I'm not on that level of Star Wars. But I will get a jacket that looks pretty nice. You got to admit, it's a pretty cool jacket. This has gone on long enough. But stay tuned for the new show with the new drone shot. Now, I ordered an attachment that I can use with my GoPro. And once I get that, I will wait for the snow to fall on the mountain and get the shot. But if the shot doesn't appear in the new show, you will know that I probably crashed the drone before I got the shot. But I am practicing. This is the 2nd day practicing, and I think I'm getting the hang of it. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Wind is a huge problem, but I think the weight will cause it to be less blown by the wind when I put that GoPro on there. But this area means a lot to me, you know? I did see that branch go down by itself. An invisible entity pulled it down. I think plots of land are dominated by negative entities and positive entities alike. There's yin and yang in the universe, which is why one of the reasons why we see zero evidence of these entities, because they're constantly negating their own existence. The devil on one shoulder, angel on the other, it kind of negates. When one says do it, the other says don't do it. It kind of negates the whole thing like nothing ever happened. But there are instances where one is so powerful, it can manifest and actually show itself. Until next time, I thank you for watching. More episodes coming soon. This has been John Razimus. Be seeing you.